Welcome back. I'm Calvin, Statue Fanatic, here with another episode of Collecting on a Budget, the show where I show you some really cool collectibles that you can collect and not break the bank. And today we're going to continue our little DC line. I've done a few DC characters, and we're going to continue with the Flash here. And before we get started with the Flash, in terms of looking at the statue, let's take a look at the box, my favorite part. Now, just kidding. Let's take a look at the box, guys. It comes in the standard DC Collectibles box. Little window box there. So for you guys that don't like to take your figures out of the box or like to be able to store them away safely and still see them, it comes with a really nice window box. And on the back of it, you have Flash and a few of the other characters. I've gotten all three of those characters. And in fact, I have reviewed two of them, Batgirl and Wonder Woman. So make sure you check out that Collected on a Budget review. And then on the back of here, again, it says a little bit about the statue, who sculpted it. Let's see here. It's DC Core, the Flash PVC statue. It is a 9-inch PVC statue. And let's see here. Does it tell me who sculpted this bad boy? It tells me a little about Barry Allen, and I don't see anywhere on here where it talks about who sculpted this guy. But, that's interesting. Oh, wow, here we go. It wasn't sculpted by a person per se. They give the credits to a studio. Sculpted by Kushaura Studios. So there you have it. They're calling it some studio sculpting. So anyway, put that aside. And let's get started with the actual statue. So here you have Barry Allen. Here you have Barry Allen in a really cool dynamic pose here. And this is typically the pose that you see Flash in most of the time. He's usually, in some really dynamic race type pose, whether it's the one where he's racing next to Superman in that diorama. He's always in this pose, which is typical. It makes sense because he's the Flash, right? Also, but my favorite pose of him actually is not this particular pose. One of the poses that I've seen of him that I like the most is when he's standing, it's a diorama, and I forget who makes that diorama, but he's standing over Gorilla Grodd, and he's like, victorious over him, and I like that pose. But this works as well. So as I've done it once around, you can see that. Now, I really like the sculpt of this guy because he's jacked. I mean, they've got all kinds of muscles and everything sculpted on this guy. I mean, his anatomy looks really awesome. Has all of the trademark markings of Flash. He's got the yellow boots, the yellow lightning sign on his chest, and of course the lightning symbol on the back of his head as he gets out. And when it comes to the actual sculpting of it, there's a lot of design in the sculpt. It's not just one flat sculpted item. All the lines that you see in his costume actually have seams and are sculpted, which is really cool. The same thing with the lightning bolt around here is sculpted, as well as, you can see that around his ear. And then the raised lightning bolt on his chest is also sculpted. Looks really cool. And then you have this texturing in his costume as well on the back of his leg. You have this texture here on the back of his leg, and then you have some texturing here on his back next to his lats, and then under his arms as well. So it looks really cool. Overall, I mean, DC Collectible does a great job with these statues. They did a great job with the other ones in terms of the sculpt and everything like that. But all good things must come to an end at some point. So the way that this one kind of falls short is the paint application. Everything else is great. Even his portrait, I like that. All that's really cool. But the paint application definitely fell short on here. Not the color scheme or anything like that. It's just the QC issues with this guy. And with that said, because of the type of QC issues I see, I can tell that this is, a one-off or a couple of off, because it's a factory thing where somebody let something get by that probably shouldn't have gotten by. So on his chest here, you got a big old splash of glue or something like that. Looks really bad on his chest. And again, I won't attribute that to this entire statue because I'm pretty sure this is just because it's mass produced and you're going to have some of these items. It was a $45 statue, and with that said, even at that price point, I don't expect to get anything like that. So if I were to get something like that, and probably you guys would do the same, you'd probably send it back. So the same thing, that's what's going to happen here with the glue, so that I can get another better version of this. There's this white stuff, residue, looks like some type of glue. Almost looks like when super glue dries, that white resin that's on there as well. And then on his back, lots of black spots and things from paint that have spilled over. And let's say if that wasn't the case and that wasn't on here, the actual shading on this statue is really fantastic. I mean, it gives a lot of depth and dimension. It's a red base coat, but lots of darker reds, lighter reds, shading all over it, giving it a really cool look where his muscles are flexing, increasing. It gives a little shadowy look to that. So it looks great in that regard. It's just these really bad paint QC issues on it that kind of, makes it a disappointment. But without a doubt, I'm pretty sure that you can get another one that doesn't look like this. And then we didn't talk about the base, but that's really cool too. Got some rock, that he's kicking up because of his breaking the sound barrier and just tearing up the ground there, the pavement, concrete or whatever it is. So here you got a lot of texture in this rock, and it looks really cool. And then underneath here, let's see here, nothing spectacular here, just says DC Collectibles, made in, of course, China. And that's about it, guys. I don't have anything else about this guy except I do think it's worth the pickup. But because of the window box, that makes it really cool. If you see this at your comic book store, you can actually take a look at it before you actually buy it to make sure that you don't get one that fell through the cracks and had this type of QC issue with it. So that's about it, guys. So until next time, keep it marvelous.